Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. I'm Debbie Georgiani, along with Jerry Escher, and as we always say, in 5+ years, and you are the key person because you make the conversations great by your life experiences. And we need to hear from you today because this is part 2 of a very, very, lively educational discussion on the beauty of working with and living with folks with special needs. That's what we're talking about today, and this is part 2. And we left so many folks on the line yesterday. I mean, so many. I can't even, I know there's Bernie and Ann, and I mean, so many. Yolanda, Marie. I mean, it goes on and on. If you were on the line yesterday when we ended the show, please call back. Tell Ryan, I think it's Ryan, or it might be Charles Beery, Ryan or Charles, tell them that you were on the line, and then they'll put you at the front of the line. Oh, it's Rich. Oh, Rich. Wow.
Wow. Third time's a charm.
Yeah. Pick a card, any card.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but that's the one part of Take Two, Jerry, I think you and I both can agree on, that we run out of time, and we want to get to everybody. So it's important that when we do these part 2s, that everybody that was waiting from yesterday, they get on first.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a number of emails that came in yesterday. We will try to get to some of those as well. I see Marie from yesterday is already on the line. The number is 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. So Debbie, I just love the way you were describing yesterday's broadcast. It was impactful. It was inspiring. I think hopefully we shattered a few stereotypes that people have about those with special needs. And we had so many different examples of those living with and serving those with special needs, occupational therapists, parents. So that's what we're talking about again here on part 2 of this program about living and or working with those who have special needs. It's 833-288-3986.
And like Jerry said, we received just, so many comments after the show. You really appreciated the show. We had a few folks say that it was just outstanding, and you wanted us to devote more topics like this to different areas that sometimes get overlooked in the world. Well, that's what Take Two's all about. We journey together. We're all together in this, and we're a family. So we want to hear from you. If you have something to say about working with, living with, encountering people with special needs, could you help us out? Share with us your experience of that, what we need to be aware of, what we need to know, what we need to be sensitive about. We want to hear everything. That's what we do on Take Two. We cover it from every single angle so that we can walk away a little bit changed, a little bit closer to God. 833-288-3986. That's the number to call. Already the phone lines are lighting up, and that is good, Jerry. And I hope you and I are going to have to pick up the pace just a little bit today to make sure we get to everybody. We're not going to do a part 3.
Right. Well, as I mentioned, we have a number of very good emails, and I wanted to start off today with one from Guy in Michigan. Guy says, "Hello, Jerry and Debbie. My sister Karen passed away last December 14th from pancreatic cancer. She lived with my wife Lynn and I for 17 years after the passing of my mother. It wasn't easy for either of us, being she was already 38 years old. She was a beautiful person, very helpful and self-sufficient. She was at the age level of a 9-year-old as tested, but I felt she was a little less than that. She went everywhere with us, every vacation, visiting and Sunday Mass every week. She was a blessing to her last day and a learning experience for each of us, being that Lynn and I were each in our early 50s at the time. This could be a very long email if I were to go on, but I wanted to share with you the eulogy I presented to her family and friends at our Mass, so he sent that along with us as well. He says, "My point for anyone is to look deeper than just what's in front of you. God is there in that person for each of us to learn from." That's Guy in Michigan.
Wow. Look
Beautiful
deeper.
Guy. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, look deeper is correct. And that's what we're learning. We learned that yesterday. I think all of us walked away. I know that some of our Inspired by Faith book club and fellowship members, they were all saying that it was a Kleenex day yesterday. A lot of people were really filled with emotion, and that's good. That's good. Emotion's good. 833-288-3986. If you're outside of North America, it's country code 1-205-271-2985. We'd like to hear from you as well. You don't have to be Catholic to call in. We have a lot of non-Catholics that call because you're part of the Take Two family. We even have several folks that are agnostic or atheist that listen to Take Two because you told us an email that it's very wholesome radio. We like that. 833-288-3986. 2 open phone lines, and that is it. And then Rich will move on to those that are coming in after that, and that is great. Hopefully, if we keep a nice pace with you reading emails, Jerry, and our Facebook and YouTube comments, and the phone calls, this should be another great discussion.
And we've talked about really every angle of this, how beautiful it is, how wonderful a gift it is, those with special needs in the lives of those who live with them and serve them. But we also talked about, and some of our callers did, Debbie, about the challenges that come with that as well. And we had an urgent prayer request via email, and this is from Virginia. She says, please ask your listeners to pray for my goddaughter, Megan. She has special needs with severe seizures, allergy problems, and can't sleep well, nor can her parents who care for her. Severely overwhelmed. All are sick. Thank you, Virginia. She is asking for prayers for that situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, please dial in 833-288-3986. The comments are coming in rather quickly. That's good. You're keeping us on track. That's the way we love the Take Two family. You keep us on our toes. We love that. Remember, these discussions we have, the purpose is that we learn and we grow. We learn a little bit about ourselves, and hopefully we weave it into our Catholic faith. And then we grow a little closer to God by the time we're done with this very short, very quick broadcast. 833-288-3986.
I'm glad you mentioned that we learn about ourselves, because these are the kinds of topics that will give us opportunities, not just during the show, but after the show and maybe for days and weeks to come, Debbie, to reflect on how we view people with special needs. Are we kind to them? Are we unfair? Do we have fear over what we don't understand? Are we uncomfortable around it? Maybe some people very naturally just fall right into serving and loving and affirming and showing God's love to people with special needs. So we're going to cover all these angles. Phone lines are jam-packed right now, so we'll get to them right away here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. 833-288-3986 when a line becomes available.
On the next Catholic Connection with Teresa Tomeo.
We do our very best at Catholic Connection to keep you connected to the Church with interviews on issues that matter, issues that impact our everyday lives as Catholics in the world, but not of the world. Whether it's featuring the latest from the front lines of the pro-life movement or the culture war that continues to rage around us, we will give you the tools to help you stay faithful as well as make a difference.
Catholic Connection, weekday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
60 Seconds with Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen.
Turn over the pages of sacred scripture. What do you find? You find a record of men to whom God has spoken. And you'll also find a record of men who listened to him. In other words, scripture is fulfilled in concrete, living dialogues. Now, men do not always want that dialogue with God. At one time, they desire it. At another time, they fear it. Adam was afraid when God called him in the garden. Cain was afraid when God spoke to him. Moses was afraid before the burning bush. When you and I have a dialogue with God, what makes it up? One thing that makes it up is, first of all, a consciousness of our own sin. And the other is the voice of God urging us to confess it, to seek his mercy.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
This is part 2 of our discussion on the beauty of working with or living with people with special needs. If you have something to say about this topic, please, now is the time to call in. Don't wait till the end of the broadcast. Please don't do that. We're not going to have a part 3. This is part 2, and it's been wonderful, but we're moving really fast. 833-288 3986. That's the number to call. I just wanted to highlight real quickly because I absolutely love it. And I always am posting from Catholic News Agency on my personal Facebook page. I just think the articles are great. So you can rely on CNA, that's Catholic News Agency, for news, blogs, opinions, and more. For the latest Catholic news, all you have to do is visit CatholicNewsAgency.com. It's an online service from EWTN News. And it's very reliable. So I think you really will like it, folks. So please go ahead and check it out.
Very good. And we're going to check out what our callers have to say, starting with Marie in 40 Fort, Pennsylvania, listening on Sirius XM 130, and was on the line yesterday and didn't quite get on the program. Marie, we're sorry about that, but we're glad you called back. Welcome.
Actually, I'm kind of glad that I got furloughed to today. Just because it helped me to get some more thoughts together. I was very excited when I heard about your topic. I have a son who will be 40 in April. He was born with severe disabilities, has cerebral palsy. He's severely physically and mentally disabled. But I wanted to answer your question first, I think, that you put out there yesterday about how we as parents would like other people to react to us. And I have personally, and I also think that this is a personal thing, so I can speak for myself, but I can't speak for other parents. So I just wanted to, make that clear, that not everyone who has special needs children may agree with me, but I'm speaking from my heart. I welcome anyone who, when I have, his name is Jimmy, and I welcome anyone who approaches us in his wheelchair and asks about him. I actually think that it's very hard for people to see parents because their perception is that our life is so difficult. And, I get a lot of tears when I have him out and, or people do just ignore you, not because they want you so much, but because they're uncomfortable and they don't know what to say to you. But, and I think in part, for myself, again, is trying to make those people comfortable, reaching out to them. If I see them in the mall, if I have my son in the mall, I'll just start talking about him. This is Jimmy. You can say hello to him. One time a little girl came up to him and said, "What's wrong with him?" And her mother got very embarrassed and upset and apologetic. And I said, "Please don't apologize, So I think depending on the circumstances in your life, as a parent, you're going to respond differently. For me, it wasn't anything with malpractice. There wasn't anything I could have done, to make him be born any other way than the way he came to us. And your situations personally, if you're a single parent, if it happened from an accident, everyone's kind of in a different place mentally and spiritually. So fortunately for me, I always felt the grace of God in our lives with Jimmy. So I really wanted to call and say that. The other thing is that he has been such a blessing to us. He lived with us till he was 25, and because he doesn't walk and his physical care became too difficult, his father, my husband, got very ill and ended up passing away. So he is now in a wonderful facility called St. Joseph Center, and God blessed me again because he is in a group home that is only a mile from my house. So I am able to see him every day. Even through the pandemic, I see him through the window. I mean, that has been a cross, but he is getting good care. And through his little life, when he was very ill with seizures and all, I never anticipated that he would still be with us, but he is. And so I don't know if you have any questions. I just have a couple more things to say.
Well, I did have a question, Marie, if you don't mind. And
yeah,
thank you for
sure.
calling and sharing this beautiful testimony about your son, Jimmy. And of course, it's God who determines how long each of us lives, and what a beautiful gift he has been for 40 years. But you're talking about how open you are and how you want to put people at ease who come to you and want to know about Jimmy's condition, and how that is for you as a parent and as a family and so forth. So just maybe speak to, say, I'm somebody walking past each other in the mall, and I look over and I want to maybe come over and offer a prayer of support, a word of encouragement. What do you think is the best way for people to do that? I mean, like you said, there's not any one size fits all, but what would you say to somebody like me who wanted to come over and really give you a word of encouragement and say how beautiful it is that you're caring for your son like that?
I think, first of all, just attempt to come over, and a parent will know that you may be interested, or they can see the compassion in your expression on your face. And you just say, I couldn't help but notice you with your son. Would you like to tell me a little more about him? So I guess, again, I have to say that I'm speaking from a personal point of view, so I don't know if every parent would feel that way, but for me, that's how it is. And I would love to tell anybody about his life and how he came into the world and, how he's impacted a lot of lives and, how he's just meant to be here. So I think that if you're afraid or if there are people afraid out there, please try not to be, because I feel like people are it's harder on them sometimes than it is on us. Like I've had people say, "I'm so sorry," and I'll say, "Please don't be." It's
right.
Sure, it's hard, but you know what? The thing is, I have 3 other children. You have no guarantee in this world with any of your children. And first they are who they are, and you love them for them, and then their disability kind of becomes secondary. It's like, this is just what you have to do, and it's okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Deb.
Marie, I just want to say something real quickly because I'm going to forget it. I'm getting older by the minute. But it's interesting as you're speaking about Jimmy. It makes me think of when I was a religious education director. One of our catechists had CP, and she was in a wheelchair, and I asked her to tell her story at the beginning of the school season. Okay, so in September, I asked her to go up to the mic and in front of all the parents and in front of all the kids, tell her story. The reason being is exactly what you're just saying, Marie, is that I didn't want people to make guesses of why she was in a wheelchair, why she had some motor difficulties, why, all these different things. And I didn't want her to feel like she was on the spot and everything. So I had her tell her story and it was beautiful, because once she did that, then it all became very natural. The next things, the next communication, the next interaction, it was really beautiful. So I agree with you. I think sometimes we go out of our way to not say anything because we think that's the appropriate thing to do or the respectful thing. But in a strange sort of way, it's very odd. It's very bizarre because it's right in front of us. Like I said yesterday, how do you ignore somebody in a wheelchair? They're in a wheelchair. We should be caring for one another and wanting to know what is going on in people's lives, because we are the body of Christ. It affects all of us. Marie, this is excellent. Boy, that just reminded me. I love Marie's call. I love what she had to say about her beautiful son, Jimmy. And I'll tell you, Jerry, I think the more we talk to one another, the better off we break down those barriers. What do you think?
Yeah. Indeed. Marie, thank you so much. I know you said you had a couple other thoughts you'd love to share, but we have 5 other people on the line right now and some others trying to get in. So we'll let you go and have a beautiful and blessed day on that note. Thank you. And we'll certainly keep you and Jimmy in our prayers. And we're so glad that even with the coronavirus, you at least get to see him, if only through a window. So thank you, Marie, for getting us started today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Bernie was also on the line yesterday in Milwaukee, listening on WSFI. Hello, Bernie. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank both of you for this wonderful program. And I am the grandmother of a young man with cerebral palsy. His name is Nathan, and since he was born, the family decided that they were going to try to make him feel as normal as the rest of the kids. So in everything that they did, Nathan was involved. His older brother started wrestling as a young boy, and the coaches made Nathan the captain of the team. so that he felt included in this whole situation. Of course, Nathan was very young at the time, but he knew what was going on. Nathan is totally incapacitated. He needs everything done for him. And another thing I'm so very grateful for is the strength that God has given my daughter and my son-in-law in this situation, because what I have seen is a lot of the husbands walk away and the women are left taking care of the child, which is very sad. My son-in-law would take Nathan out tubing with the rest of the kids. I would always have qualms about it, thinking he'd get hurt. But no, it all worked out perfectly. And even as his older brother got older, and you know how kids, as they do get junior, senior high school, they play cards together. Well, his brother would pack him up, put him in the car, take him along, and he would be sitting there in his wheelchair with the older boys as they were talking and playing cards. So he was involved in everything in their life, and now he is 31. He was best man at his brother's wedding. He was godfather to their first child. And it's just been a beautiful thing. He has two brothers. The youngest one is a wrestler also, so he was involved in his activities. And I know that there are a lot of people waiting to call, but I just wanted to say that it's so important that the husbands stay and not leave the wives to handle all this.
Right.
It can be a very beautiful life.
Well,
so on that point, I will let you ask questions if you have any.
Okay. Well, Bernie, first, we just want to say, Nathan's very blessed to have such a special grandmother. I mean, you're pretty amazing. And you're right. To have that, the father in the home, absolutely. But the way you described your family and the way they made Nathan, a valued part of all the different events and everything that's happening in your family, that's key. That is really key, because I think sometimes when somebody has, and we can even say like your grandson, with has CP, but we can say even with people who have, other things going on, like illnesses, okay, like even with cancer, sometimes people they naturally avoid them or overlook them, like they're not able to be part of what's going on in the greater family and even in the greater community. That's very unfortunate, and it's very short-sighted, and it's very limited in its capacity. That's not how our God works. Our God is a God that is just he breaks down all of those barriers and all that resistance we can get through, and we can make people realize that their life and what they have to offer just by being present. If that's the only thing they can do is be present, it brings Christ into the world. And that's what I'm gathering from your from your story and your family story, Bernie, about Nathan, because that, you said about being the godfather and the best man at a wedding. I mean, that's huge. And I love that. What do you think, Jerry?
Well, I think what you were just touching upon is very, very true. The thought that comes to my mind is there is a way to include everyone, no matter their circumstances, but it's not the same way that everybody is going to be involved. For example, I could never run the 100-yard dash in 9.2 seconds, but I could be in the stands. I could be a coach. I could be a mascot. I could be just someone who roots for the team. So I think it's beautiful. We see in everyday life,
Right.
Not everybody can do everything, but there is a way to bring other people in, hopefully into all circumstances. So I think it's
Right.
absolutely a beautiful call.
I love it. Bernie, did we capture it okay?
You sure did. And again, I want to thank both of you for the wonderful ministry you have. And Debbie, honey girl, you're not getting older, you're getting better.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I love you for that. Sending you virtual hugs. Thank you so much. God bless you.
And the same to both of you.
Thank you, Bernie. God bless you. Thanks for calling the program at 833-288-3986. Again, this is part 2 of a show we did yesterday on living and or working with people with special needs. And it just warms your heart, Debbie, to hear these beautiful, beautiful stories. And we're going to continue with them.
It truly does.
In just a moment with Tim and Diana and James and Angie and Ryan. But
it's our friend Tim Mateo who's waiting.
Yes, in Ohio.
Wait to get to you,
Tim's up next. Yeah, in just a second.
Yeah, but he'll have to wait a little longer.
Yeah.
He's used to that, though, with us.
Yeah, right.
But you know what? This is a great conversation. I think we need to have more of these kinds of conversations because I think sometimes we miss the very obvious. You know, this is a wonderful opportunity here. Mother Angelica used to say about it all. She used to say all the time, this is our training ground. This is it. You know, if we're on the road to sainthood, that's what we all should be, right, Jerry? This is the time to be learning and growing right here. This is Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie on the part 2 of special needs. We're talking about that today, special needs folks. If you encounter them, you live with them, you work with them, call us.
The words of Blessed Carlo Acutis.
All people are born as originals, but many die as photocopies.
And this.
I'm happy to die, because I live my life without wasting even a minute of it on anything unpleasing to God.
The EWTN home video highlight for December is the EWTN Family Christmas Special. The choir of the Eternal Word Television Network performs classical Christmas carols with a special commentary by Father Joseph Mary Wolfe. Order your DVD or CD at EWTNRC.com, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or call 1-800-854-6316.
Have you ever heard someone say, the Catholic Church is too condemning, it needs to practice more tolerance? G.K. Chesterton says the other word for tolerance is indifference, and the other word for indifference is apathy. The Catholic Church cannot afford to be tolerant of evil. It has to be consistent in opposing what is wrong and defending what is right. And the Church especially cannot afford to tolerate social evils that are condoned by the state, because sooner or later, it'll be turned against the Church. History has shown this more than once. Chesterton says, there have been times in history when the Church has been wedded to the world, but it's always been widowed by the world.
Spend more time with the Apostle of Common Sense. Visit chesterton.org for more information and go to EWTNRC.com to discover more books and programs written and inspired by G.K. Chesterton.
I'm Gloria Purvis.
I'm Monsignor Charles Pope.
And I'm Deacon Harold. The Morning Glory team talks about the work of repentance and conversion.
Tomorrow morning, 7 Eastern. Now back to Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie.
Well, we say it all the time, and we mean it. It's your show, Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie. We have our producer, Michael Birchfield, on the controls today, Jeff Burson on social media. We have some comments we will get to there. And Rich Jesse is in for Ryan Penny today, screening your calls as we're talking about living and or assisting people with special needs. Let's go back to the phones. Tim in Findlay, Ohio, watching the feed on Facebook. Hey, Tim, it is always great to hear from you, brother.
Hi, Tim Mateo.
Advantageous Advent to you both.
Thank you. I'll take it.
How
you doing?
Actually, it was I was looking at a comic strip one day, and it had like a little girl talking to an old man, and he's like, "Merry Christmas, too early. Happy holidays, too secular. Advantageous Advent, now you're talking."
Well, we'll remember that.
So you called in yesterday, Tim.
Yeah, the call dropped for some reason, and then I got sidetracked. But when it's 1967, my grandmother suffered a stroke and became bedridden. And between me and my 3 siblings, we helped my mom take care of her. Because, there were times when actually mom struggled with, getting her to eat. She would have, meals ready for us when we come home from school. So when we come home from school, we would, go up to Grandma, because she lived with us. We took care of her, at home. and you said, "Hey, eat with us," and she would. And she lasted 7 years.
Wow.
67. He died 19th of December of 74. But I think if it weren't for us kids helping Mom, she wouldn't have lasted as long as she did.
Right. Well, what did you kids learn from that? What did you learn from that, Tim? Though, I mean, how old were you when you were taking care of your grandmother? That's a really big task.
Well, I was 67, which would make me probably, I think, about like 6.
Wow.
And it just, I think what it taught me was just, I rarely think of myself. I'm always helping somebody.
Yeah.
Because even my mom in my later years, I was her legwork. I was, last one to see my mom alive.
Oh.
And I reflect upon taking care of my grandmother, and one of my relatives wanted to put her in a home, and Mom's like, "No way." And I reflect upon that, and I'm thinking, what nursing facility back in the late 60s, early 70s would be able to take care of someone that couldn't speak English? My grandmother only spoke Spanish.
Okay. I was gonna my thought train here, Tim, was going down the same path that Debbie was, in asking you what you learned from that, because I was going to say, unfortunately, nowadays we don't see as much extended family living with their families maybe we used to. There's maybe a lot more people who are, maybe out of necessity, have to be put in a facility or something. But I was just going to say, this is absolutely a great teaching opportunity. I think you said you learned to not think of yourself, think of others. And I can't think of really a lot of better ways, Debbie and Tim, than to really take in a family member and provide that love and that care. And it was not only a blessing to your grandmother, but also to your mother.
To your mother. I was just going to say, you were a great support to your mom, and that's really awesome, because that heavy responsibility could fall on her. Plus, she had to take care of children and her family. So what you guys all pitched in, and it was you obviously learned something, you derived something from it, but it also really assisted your mom, and that's the beauty of your family. You must have a tight knit family, Tim.
Yeah, we were all pretty close. Because we had we grew up on 10 acres, outside of the small town where we grew up at, and basically all we had was each other.
Sure. Right. So you relied on each other. We got to get you back out to Arizona, Tim. It's never been the same without you.
I've been wanting to keep me in your prayers on that. Okay. I've been wanting to know if it's his will to go back, finish what I started at Arizona State. Yep. Yeah,
you need to come back.
I had a great experience over there so far.
Cool.
So.
Well, it's changed dramatically. We look like a mini California, but it's still great.
Oh, that's
I won't
scary.
ask if that's good
scary.
or bad. Yeah, right. All right, Tim, God bless you. Have an amazing day. Have an advantageous Advent, and thanks for calling into the program again, second day in the row. Sorry your call dropped yesterday, but we're glad we got you on today.
Yes, absolutely. Bye, Tim. We'll talk to you soon over at the book club.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, speaking of which, Debbie, it's a good lead in. Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We Jerry and Debbie, our ministry has, Stand Tall Ministry, has a book and fellowship club with almost 300 people in it. The facilitator, the one, the only, Gigi, she runs it every month. She selects the book that we all read, and at the end of the month, we have a Facebook chat live about it. So if you would like to join the Jerry and Debbie Stand Tall Inspired by Faith Book and Fellowship Club, you can do that anytime, even right now, if you go to standtalltoday.com and click on the book club tab at the top.
Yep. We're reading Mother Teresa, Advent. It's pretty great,
Yep.
as always. Gigi does a great job, and the book club is so much fun. Great group. Okay, so up next is Diana, Erie, Pennsylvania, listening on the Station of the Cross. Hi, Diana. Thanks for waiting, and welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm very nervous, so I hope I make it through.
We're very friendly, Diana.
I know you are.
You don't
and
sound
I really
nervous.
Oh, good, good. I really want to say that, first of all, that I just love both of you. I have listened to you for 5 years, and I just love the way you have dedicated your whole life to nurturing people in their faith, and it's very precious. And I thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you so much.
I'm getting nervous now. I do want to say something in response to the last call. I have a son. I've been blessed with a son with Down syndrome. He's 26 years old, and I love having him home with me. But the problem is my husband and I are 40 years older than him. So someday he may have to leave us. He may have to go into a group home, and it will break my heart. But I just have to trust the Lord that he will continue to nurture and take care of my son. So that's all you can do. But yes, God gave me the blessing of a son with Down syndrome. He's 26. His name is Nathan. But I wanted to share that when he was a baby, he was just 1, I think, I felt a call in my heart to dedicate myself to teaching adults with intellectual disabilities about Jesus and about God, and then later about the Catholic Church. First, at that time, I had left the Catholic Church when I was 18 because I had a conversion in a Protestant church. And at that time, God gave me the opportunity to teach people, a lot of special needs people, about Jesus and the Bible in the Protestant world. But I returned to the Catholic Church when I was 50, and that was 15 years ago, and he gave me the opportunity to do some catechism and some teaching of adults with intellectual disabilities. And I guess I just want to say that I loved Marie's call. I thought it was awesome the way her family has included her grandson. And was his name Nathan as well? I think.
You're talking about Bernie? Bernie's grandson's name is
Bernie.
Nathan.
Bernie, yes. They included him. I guess I just have a passion to say I just hope that every single Catholic family who has a child with special needs does everything they can to include them in the life of the church, because it's so important to them. It becomes I can speak for my son. I can speak for others that I know. It just really becomes everything to them. My son, he loves Mass. He loves prayer. In fact, at 3:00 this afternoon, he's going to pull me into the living room, and he's going to make sure that we say the Divine Mercy Chaplet together.
Beautiful.
Yes, and we go to St. Joe's in Erie, and he listens to Father Larry Richard's homilies. Like, he listens to every single word. He comes out of church, and he knows everything that Father said. And I forgot it all. I already forgot it. But he remembers everything, and he's pretty high functioning. So he's been given the opportunity also to be an altar server. And we have other people in our church that have special needs, and one of them is an usher and a greeter. And we have another one who at one point led the rosary before Mass. So this just becomes their life. And with the grace, honestly, with the grace of the sacraments, their relationship with God just blossoms. And that's what I want to say.
Well, you were not nervous at all, Diana. That was absolutely beautiful, and God bless your son, Nathan. And the former parish that I went to recently, it's been a few years ago now, they had a Down syndrome young man as the cross bearer at the Saturday evening vigil mass, and he would process in there, and he looked so, he would just beam. You know, he's so proud to be part of the mass, not just attending mass. And as far as that goes, you know, who are we to deprive anybody of the opportunity, of course, certainly to be at Mass, to receive the sacraments when they can, to be in the presence of God, get them close to Jesus, get them in the way of those graces that you were talking about, Diana. So, yeah, Debbie, it's
absolutely. I kind of liken it to when I was, you know, a child and I went to Mass. I had no idea what was going on, but God was still influencing me. I still sensed His presence. And that really was what drew me back to the Catholic Church. So I think it's the same for them. Even if they don't intellectually understand everything, they're in His presence.
Yeah.
And they're going to, you know, they're going to thrive from that.
Well, Diana, we're so glad you're home. We're so glad you're home in the Catholic faith. So that is wonderful.
Thank you. I am too.
And you did great, by the way. You sounded very, very comfortable with us. So that's awesome. And thank you again for the beautiful words. Real quickly, as you were speaking, I had this light bulb go off in my head. You know, I said before the break that Mother Angelica used to say that this is a training ground, you know, for us to grow in holiness and to become saints, right? And then you think about all of these fine individuals that have been given this added, you know, this added, I don't know if you would call it, a situation, if you will, you know, with Down syndrome or with any other disability or special needs or something of that nature. But yet they're drawn in such a beautiful, pure way to God. And if we are called to grow in holiness, if we're called to be saints, we should be running towards these folks and trying to get what they have. Think about it for a moment. It just went off in my head, like it became so clear to me. And yet we live in a world where, you know, we have this throwaway society. Everybody, you know, wants the brand new, shiniest thing, the new car, the new house, the new this, the new that. And yet we're missing it. This is an awesome opportunity for us to extract or to, you know, try to understand. Because like you said, your son, you know, he's gonna pull you in to pray the Divine Mercy. Wow, that's holiness, Diana.
I know. He even has a committed adoration hour once a week.
Wow.
He wanted to do that. It's just amazing. But I really believe that it's the God-given grace that people with special needs have, but also the grace of the sacraments. They're very powerful. Yep. Tomorrow, by the way, is my birthday. My spiritual birthday. I was baptized on December 4th, and I came back to the church fully in my heart on December 4th,
wow.
50 years later.
Wow.
So,
that's beautiful.
Excuse me. I believe in the sacraments.
Yeah, well,
they're powerful.
Praise God for that. I echo what Debbie said. Welcome home. And Diana, would you please do us a favor? We are a praying family. The Take Two family is a praying family. We pray for you, all of our listeners, every day. And the next time Nathan tugs on you and says, let's go and pray the Divine Mercy Chaplet, would you ask him and both of you remember the Take Two show and all of our listeners in your prayers?
Absolutely.
Good.
We would love to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
That means the world to us, Diana. Thank you so much for another inspirational call. Appreciate it.
That was beautiful. Okay, do we have a lot of comments coming in? Are we going back to the phones or comments?
We have social media comments, emails, we have phone calls. But before any of that, I want to mention EWTN Bookmark. Saturday afternoons at 4:30 Eastern Time. Debbie and I are going to be on an upcoming episode with Doug Keck about our book, Trustful Surrender. But this week, Doug talks with authors Paul Kengor and Robert Orlando about The Divine Plan, John Paul II, Ronald Reagan, and the dramatic end of the Cold War. Just 6 weeks apart, in the spring of 1981, Pope John Paul II and Ronald Reagan, President Reagan, took bullets from would-be assassins. Few realized at the time how close both men came to dying. And you can't understand Pope John Paul II and President Ronald Reagan or how the Cold War came to such a swift and peaceful end without understanding how much faith they put in the divine plan. So be sure you watch Bookmark and listen to it with Doug Keck this Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on most of these same EWTN stations.
Okay. Are we going to Angie?
Sure.
Okay. In Owensboro, Kentucky, Savior Radio Network is the way you're listening. Hi, Angie. Thanks for waiting and welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking my call. I've been listening to y'all a lot. I wanted to get in yesterday, but I did not have the opportunity, but I am so thankful that I do today. You've been talking about people with special needs. I am a foster mom, a therapeutic foster mom, and my husband and I have been doing this for several years. We're also medically complex. And you were just talking about, everybody, the throwaway society and the new and shiny, and everybody wants that in a child, and they don't want to take on those behavioral problems or the medical problems, that's somebody else's kid. And there's so many children, so many across the U.S. and around the world who are just lingering in the foster system, waiting on a home, somebody to make an impact. And a lot of times these children have never even heard of Jesus, and they don't know about it. And those few days can make a big impact in your home, whether they're there, overnight or they're there a couple years. They need that. And so many kids right now, especially with the pandemic, are struggling even more with isolation, not being able to get out. They are very brokenhearted. Sometimes it's behavioral problems. Sometimes it's mental. Sometimes it's physical issues. But a lot of people say, well, I can't do that, take a kid in my house, and then have to give them back. It would just break my heart. And I look at them and I go, well, think about what it does for that child who has nowhere to go, or hasn't had any love or consistency. And you could be that voice for him. You could be the one who makes the impact for the rest of that child's life just by opening your home and your heart. I would ask everybody to pray about it, because there's just such a huge, huge need for these children. I've had one for 2 years, and I've had some that, were only there a few days. Right. But I've also read stories where, just the homes that they were in the shortest amount of time made the biggest impact in their life. It planted seeds that followed them into adulthood. Wow. And right now, it's so important. I would encourage everybody to please pray and think about these children. I've heard so many wonderful stories about these families who, they have their biological children or family members that they're taking care of and doing such a beautiful job for, and it's absolutely a blessing. But there's so many children who are waiting on a blessing also, and every listener could be one of those for these children. Mm-hmm. They're waiting impatiently.
Right. Wow. Angie, how many children have you brought, through your home?
I don't actually keep count.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not into counting how many kids. I did to begin with. I said yes and no, and because you can pick and choose, what behaviors or disabilities you think fit your lifestyle and your home.
Right.
And here, since the pandemic, I have just let go with prayer, mm-hmm. and I say yes. Whatever they call me with, I know that God has a plan for them, and I say yes. I know there's been several dozen. It's been about 5 years. I've had everything from little premature babies to mm-hmm. teenage children with every kind of disability and incapacitated in about every way you can imagine. And it's a perpetual thing. I'm seeing more and more children who are coming in who have been affected by satanic mm-hmm. issues and worships, and they come in and they look at my crucifix or something, and it freaks them out. They don't know who it is. They don't know why he's bleeding, and they have no idea of the story. and they will start asking questions, and they want to go to church. And I know that even when they're only there a few weeks, that plants a seed.
That plants
in
a
them.
seed. Right. And that's where I was going with it, because that's where, when I asked you how many have come through your home, I mean, you think about all those wonderful foundational spiritual seeds that you planted by just letting them experience God in your home. And that can help them for a lifetime. And so I want to say, and I know Jerry would agree, and the whole show team would as well. Thank you for opening your heart up far and wide, and allowing these beautiful children to experience God. And I just feel the blessings of that will be for them, but also for you, either now or for all of eternity. So I echo what you say about, that we should all pray about it and see if we can open our hearts and open our homes and see if we can make a difference as well. Angie, thank you so much for your beautiful call. Jerry?
Yeah, thank you, Angie. Reminds me of Dr. Ray Garendi. He and his wife, Randy, 10 kids, all adopted.
Yes.
Mixed races, special needs. It's really a beautiful thing that they have done. Thank you again, Angie. We want to got just a short period of time, 2 minutes, to get over to Ryan in Buffalo, listening on the Station of the Cross. Sorry to keep you short, Ryan. We've got about 2 minutes, but fire away. Are you there, Ryan? Oh, don't tell me. I think he's there. Okay, let's try Marilyn in Warrington, Pennsylvania. Sorry about that, Ryan. We didn't hear you there. So, Marilyn in Pennsylvania, Holy Spirit Radio, you get 2 minutes. Thank you very much for calling.
Oh, thank you so kindly to both of you. I'm going to do my best in 2 minutes. Nevertheless, I want to express that there's a lot of horror back out there as well. For decades, I have been taking care of up to 2 individuals who have special needs, and one of them functions. One of them is in their 30s and functions anywhere up to 24 months. And what is the saddest thing, and in a nutshell, I've been a widow for over 2 decades. To this day, it's been over 30 years, and we are here still struggling. The services with minimal or no services. I've had individuals that literally come into my home to assist with one of my family members, and they have physically abused her. They have neglected her. They have harmed her. And this particular party is like a baby. Doesn't speak, even though for decades, the staff, I try to speak to the supervisors, I try to speak to the directors, and they yes me to death, and still they send individuals who have stolen our properties, items. They have also broken many things that belong to in our home.
Well, Marilyn, forgive me for cutting in on you there. We're just, you hear that music, that means the end of the show is approaching. God bless you, Marilyn, for all the generosity that you've shown to these young children. You put up with a lot. You've had to experience a lot, but we hope and pray the blessings outweigh anything else for you in your life. And Joan in New York, listening on the Station of the Cross, wish we had time for you. I wish we could do part 3, 4, 5, and 6 of this show, Debbie, but we can't.
We'll revisit it again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But tomorrow we've got to get to talking about the death of a spouse, and that's going to be a big show tomorrow.
That's right. If you've lost a spouse to death, and maybe you've thought about, do I want to remarry? And then you thought, well, you know what? I could not possibly